Alabama head coach Mark Dantonio.
Thanks, John. Just to begin, I guess we're in the midst of planning. Obviously, this is a big week for us, practice, etc. Getting back, feet up underneath us, and so moving from there. Alabama has an outstanding football team. I think we all understand that. Defensively, they're number one in their conference and ranked 1, 2, or 3 in a variety of different situations and categories and everything. Derrick Henry, obviously a Heisman Trophy winner, almost 2,000 yards rushing, leads the nation in touchdowns, which I think 23. So he'll be an outstanding opponent and be a challenge for us to stop. We're going to focus on the moment, basically, as we move through the process here. And that moment is preparation right now. So with that, I'll just take some questions. That's usually the best way to do this, and we'll go from there.
Mark, just prior to the 2011 Capital One Bowl at his press conference, I asked Saban about Kirk Cousins and the MSU passing attack. And he said, quote, "They're stubborn," unquote. And he said that you guys would, no matter, even if they shut your run down, you wouldn't go away from it. How important is balance in this game?
Well, I think anytime you play football in general, I think you got to have balance. You got to be able to throw the football in this day and age. There's no question about that. But you also have to be able to run it. And, that's going to be a challenge. But we've got a good offensive line. We've got good backs. We've run it against some good defenses in this conference and in the country. And it's been sort of a staple for us. So we've got to be able to continue to, I believe, stay balanced, as you said, but not make mistakes, not beat ourselves, and, shrink the game sometimes when you need to, but also need to always be on the plus side of the chains. When you look at with Alabama's secondary and their coverage schemes, very, very good, very sound, great technique. You really look across the board at their defense, and they're going to play 11 different defensive players up front. They're going to play a variety of linebackers. Obviously, number 19, Ragland, is a tremendous football player. So is Robinson up there at number 86. In the back end, Jones, number 5, outstanding corner. Safeties are very, very good. But everywhere you look, you're impressed. I'm a defensive coach by trade, so when you look at their defense, you see guys playing with great techniques and being very successful at what they do. But regardless of that, we got to be who we are too. We can't become something we're not.
Mark, rush defense, a huge strength for your team, and just going up against the Heisman, where you just said he's an impressive player, but how big is it knowing that your rush defense has been able to shine against some of the best attacks in the country this year heading into this game? It gives us confidence, I think, as a football team. Every team that we could possibly play in a college football playoff, or for that matter, in a Big 6 games, much like we've done these last 2 years, they're going to have good football teams. But we have to understand that we're in that hunt as well. This isn't new ground in terms of playing in one of these games. First time in the playoffs, but we played against good football teams in the past, and great offenses, great backs. Going to be a challenge. Just a big body guy, and Derrick Henry, very physical. I was excited that I was at the awards ceremony, so I was able to see him up front and close and personal, so you can see how big he is. And he's physical running back and, well-deserved of the Heisman Trophy and everything he's been able to accomplish.
Coach, your team is not only preparing for Alabama this week, but they're in exam week. How do they balance everything out, and what are you kind of preaching as this important time is going on?
Yeah, you got to get good grades in, get ready. So that's a little bit of a challenge, but we've been able to work through that, and our guys have stayed busy, and we know we're going to get our lifts in. We're going to make sure that we're at the exams and prepared for that, and then also going to make sure that we practice. So we've moved practice around a little bit to be able to allow for those opportunities. And but it really has not conflicted as much as I would have thought. Really, our guys have been there and prepared, wide awake.
Mark, what separates Connor as a quarterback in the pocket from other teams? And then, secondly, he's taken some criticism for attitude things what happened with Archie Griffith or his pro prospects over the last few weeks. Is that stuff fair?
Well, first of all, what happened at the Big Ten championship game, it's very difficult to hear up on that stage because I could barely hear what was going on. And I don't really think that he realized who Archie was at that point in time. He was standing behind him, and the whole thing was just sort of got out of whack there a little bit. A lot of excitement. It was minutes after the game, so very exciting time for everybody involved. So I think that was there was a lot to be made out of that, but it was certainly not intentional. And he apologized the next day to Archie Griffin personally. But as far as as pocket quarterback, and the first question, you guys always throw these three or four questions at me. Okay. I think what separates him up in the pocket, he's got a great release. He's big, he's tall, he's a very confident player. He throws guys open, and he can fit the ball in very, very tight windows, as we've seen throughout the year. I think he's having his best year as a senior. He's played on a big stage in big games, and he's been extremely successful. So those are the things that sort of separate him, I think, from maybe the guy playing quarterback.
Coach, you're in the back.
Yeah.
So some of the guys are saying the first couple of days of practice this week have been pretty intense, a lot of hitting, kind of like camp. Is that something you're pushing, or is that enthusiasm coming from them knowing what's on the line?
I think it's both. We're going to make sure it's structured and controlled, but I don't think there's any question with a week layoff and then anticipating what's coming, our guys are getting ready. And they know they have to tackle well. They know they understand they have to play great technique to be successful in this game. So they're working at their craft. But they're also very excited about the opportunity.
Is that intensity any different from last year's bowl preparation?
Tough for me to say, tough for me to say that without thinking back. I haven't really thought about that. I'm trying to just deal in the present. But we've always had great bowl practices. And, our guys come to work. I mean, there's no lack of work here.
Coach, can you talk about the Big Ten versus SEC aspect and how you guys are kind of carrying the banner and whether or not you think the Big Ten has kind of caught up with the SEC?
No, I think there's great there's parity in college football. I don't really look at it like that. I look at it as Michigan State versus Alabama. I don't really, we're carrying the Big Ten Conference, I guess, the torch a little bit, but it's more about personal matchups game to game. I think that every bowl game has that. It's about the individual matchups that you have to win. The conference is not winning it. That particular team's going to win it.
Coach, you mentioned the 11 rotation that they have on the defensive line. Is there any benefit now because of all the injuries for your offensive line of all the changes you had to have and go throughout the season?
Yeah, we can play 8 guys up there, and we feel good about playing all 8. And I think that's something that we're going to have to do as well because they're going to be fresh, and we need to be fresh as well. So I think we will do that. I don't think there's any question that we'll do that as well. Can
I ask you just, Jake Conklin, what you've seen, the way he's been such a key leader there to go from a walk-on to an All-American?
Yeah, the guy came, we knew he was a good player, and we basically said, hey, if you walk on first semester, we'll put you on. Much like we've done with Cole Chewins this year, and he's going to be an outstanding player as well. And then Jack has really took off. He started as a redshirt freshman for us. He's been a dominant player. He's extremely athletic. He's extremely smart. He's played in a lot of big games for us, and he's got a lot of game experience. So this, again, will be a great challenge for him individually as well, as with all of our guys up there, because, they got some men's. Okay, they got some big guys up there, very physical players, and they can play.
Mark, I'm wondering how your enjoyment level has changed for these games over the years. In the early years, it was great just to get to a bowl game. Everyone's excited. Now you have all these demands on your time. You have about 6 of these wonderful press conferences you're going to do in the next couple of weeks. Has your enjoyment level changed with the stakes?
Yeah, I'm enjoying this one. Yeah. I think that we're comfortable, if that's the word I want to use. I think we've played well, especially these last 3 years, and really these last 6 years we've played very well. And I think that our players are a little bit more used to being on this stage and performing well in this environment. And that's what has to happen if you're going to take steps in your program to get to where you want to go. Where we wanted to go at the very beginning of all this was to win championships. And as crazy as it sounds, I stood there and pointed at the ring I had on my finger the day that I was announced, and I believed that could happen here because it had happened here in the past. And that's a little bit there was a big reach forward, but I think you have to do that. I think you have to be bold and you have to dream big. And if you're going to attract great players here, they have to understand that they can play at a marquee time, and they can play on a big stage, and they can play with the very best in the country. And that's what we've been able to do. And we've got players doing that. I'm sorry? No, I don't. I don't wear them. There's always one to go. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Coach in the back. Back here.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about the Bulla family and what they mean to Michigan State football throughout the history of the program?
Yeah, the Bulla family, you go way back to Hank Bulla, to Henry Bulla, and the things that he's been able to accomplish here, winning a national championship as a player, being involved with Duffy and with George Perlis later on, and the things that he brings from a history standpoint. Very, very green. And then, you have Shane and you have Chuck coming after that, playing for Coach Perlis. Again, Big Ten championship players. And then now you have Max, and then, who's now playing with the Texans. And obviously, I think he's a 3-time All-Big Ten player, first-team All-Big Ten player. And now we have Riley and then Byron. So, from day one since I've come here, I think those guys came. I guess Max came in 2010. So, and Byron's a redshirt freshman. So you've got another three years. So I don't know. What's that, about 10, 12 years with Bullas on our football team. So it's it's amazing what they've been able to accomplish here at Michigan State and what Michigan State means to them. They're great role models for our football family in terms of how you approach football here at Michigan State.
Mark, I heard from some folks, a special forces unit on the Afghan, Syria type area, who found a way out on patrol to get the game, the Big Ten championship game, over the internet. Heard from a lady not going to the bowl because she's having surgery on a brain tumor and how she's so upset about missing it. You talk to your players about the game getting bigger than just a game. How do you relay to 18 to 22-year-olds how people in so many diverse areas, this means so much?
When I came here back in 1995, and Jim Cotter, who was then the assistant admissions director at that time, we had him in to talk to our recruits. And I remember him talking to them, and at the end of this, talked about Archimedes and what he said. And I said that in my first press conference, and the quote says, "Give me a place to stand and I can move the world." And I believe that you could do that for Michigan State. And so I've said that to our players on a number of occasions, and they see it happening. And so because this is such a global world now, I guess, or a global, whatever you call it, environment, that I think that, sports moves people. It's a people-driven business. And when you're playing at a high level and when you're competing for high stakes, it captures everybody's. It captures everybody. So from here all the way around the globe, I think that those things are happening, and that's very exciting. And our players need to understand that. And as Churchill said, with success comes responsibility. So hopefully we understand that as well.
Mark, obviously Shalique Calhoun's on-the-field performance is pretty critical to your success. Can you talk about his personality and what it means for your program off the field?
Big personality. He could probably run this press conference better than I could. Huh? You guys seen him in action. But I think he enjoys playing football. He comes to practice and enjoys practice. He enjoys messing around, having fun with the game. He's a dynamic football player. But just as importantly, I think he's a dynamic person. He's made a decision to come back. And, last year when I sat there on signing day and said, hey, our two biggest recruits, the two guys that will have the biggest impact on our football team that we recruited this year, Connor Cook, Shalique Calhoun. And these are the reasons they came back for. And I cited those reasons. And one of those reasons is to play in this type of game at this type of moment. It's exciting to see those guys accomplish their dreams and their goals, to be in this position, but we need to go beyond this game too, and they understand that as well.
Mark, you talked a little bit a couple minutes ago about believing in what was possible here when you first took over as the head coach. At that point, did you look back at all, I guess, on what you had been able to accomplish just during Coach Saban's tenure up through that 1999 season as sort of evidence of what might be possible?
Yes, I did, because I'd seen it happen here. I saw us become a 10-2 football team and end up, with the Citrus Bowl. Coach Bobby Williams was the head coach for that one. But beating Florida, ended up, I think, number 10 in the nation at that point in time, and, poised to sort of take off. But, I think the continuity in staff has helped us immensely. And then the structure, the facilities, the upgrades in facilities, and we just kept sort of pecking away. And, we found a way to win, and we found a way to get to the bowl games, and eventually we found a way to win the bowl games, which we've done the last 4 times against great opponents, I might add. And then found a way to win Big Ten championships. And, I guess these last 3 years, I guess we're 36-4. So I think that's maybe 4th best in the country or something like that. So we found a way to move forward. But I think all of that was pointed, like I said, to the past. The fact that Michigan State has been successful in the past, to me, gave me great evidence that it could happen again. And also, the people that we knew here, the landscape. I understood the landscape here when I came back.
You mentioned a process often when you talk about Michigan State's evolution into the college football playoff team. What about that 49-7 loss? So it was your 4th straight bowl loss. Since then, you turned the corner. You learned how to win. What did you take from that? What changed as far as the culture of bowl games for your program?
It's like Coach Tressel used to say when he looked down that table when I was an assistant. He said, we've come a long way, but we're really not quite there yet, are we? And at that point in time, things sort of snowballed in that particular game, but they had a dynamic football team that many felt that could have challenged for the national championship, but they had lost their Big Ten their SEC championship game, and we weren't ready yet. We weren't ready for that scope yet, so we'll see how far we've come from that particular moment. But that was in 2010, so this is a completely different dynamic now. What do we do different? Well, we need to block better, tackle better, catch the ball better, throw the ball better, all those things. We need to do better. And we need to understand who we're playing against and get ourselves ready mentally.
L.J. Scott obviously had a clutch performance in the Big Ten championship game, but even going back to like Western Michigan in the 4th quarter, you guys put the ball in his hands a lot. How did he earn that trust so quickly to be put in those big spots?
I think that what we try to do is, we have 4 good running backs that have played at big moments throughout the last number of years. Okay, so try and put the running back in there that's hot, and I felt like at that point in time that LJ was the guy. I just had that feel. So that's the guy that we pushed forward, and he, he responded. So that's the way we've always tried to handle it. We've done it with Gerald, we've done it with Mondre London, and we've also done it with Delton. Maybe not this year, but we've done it with Delton in the past as well.
Mark, I wanted to ask you about the safeties question. What's realistic for RJ in this game? How's he practicing now, and how much can he be involved? And then talking to Demetrius earlier, trying to figure out if he missed a snap this year on defense. Mm-hmm. How durable and versatile has he been for you guys? So there's 2 questions there.
Yeah, I don't. If Day came out, it was because of a fast-paced offense, tempo type thing where he maybe we just rolled him. But he's been a mainstay back there for us. And then I expect RJ to be full go. Now, he will not have played a game, but he looked very, very good this week thus far, and we're working him back into it, but he looks very good, and he looks active, and he looks ready to go. And he's got such a great deal of experience that he's going to adapt very quickly in that area. So,
Mark, you talked about all the success you guys have had in recent years and 11-win seasons and these big bowl wins. How do you maintain the identity of the chip on the shoulder, the underdog mentality, the stuff that the framing has worked so well for this program? Does it get more difficult when you have success like that?
everybody keeps saying we got a chip on our shoulder all the time. Maybe it's because I don't smile up here often enough. But the chip on our shoulder is relative to us, how we play, how we respond. It has nothing to do with who we're playing against, because we have a great deal of respect for everybody that we play against. But the chip on our shoulder is, it's just we need to get ourselves ready to play, and we've constantly saying it's about who we are and about how we play. And so that mentality has to be relative to, excellence in performance. You've got to be able to play at a very high level when you're playing against these teams. So you've got to challenge yourself to be at your best when your best is needed. And that's what we've tried to do on every occasion. So we come in with a mentality, the same type of mentality that Alabama comes into it with, or any of these great football teams, that they expect to win. And, there are always going to be doubters out there from every angle, whether you're here or whether you're on another football team. So we challenge ourselves. And I think that's where the chip comes from, or if you want to say a chip. But we're going to be mentally ready. And I think from my standpoint, that's a coach's job, to get your guys mentally ready. Know what to do it to the best of their ability. Make sure they're rested mentally and emotionally so they can be at their best and charged.
Mark, you've talked a lot over the last couple of years about chemistry, especially this team. A guy like Jack Allen, who's been so successful, but we see bits of his personality a little bit here and there. But the guys talk about him and how important he is, how much fun they have with him. Can you just talk about guys like that, especially him and his? I guess that.
Yeah, we got a whole team of those kind of guys. I think every football team does. That's what makes football so unique. We have 115 guys and 115 different personalities, and I could say is their characters, but they're fun to be around. And whether I'm sitting there talking to Jack about his pet python, or talking to him about how do you feed that python, and things of that nature, and then he goes into some story or whatever it is. But he's got a great sense of humor. He keeps people loose, but he's a very intense guy, he's a guy that takes challenges on. He takes challenges on. So, I think that's one of the reasons he was elected captain.
You were talking to Jack about Bubbles the cat.
No, I heard that you guys were talking to him about Bubbles. I didn't know he had a cat. I didn't know they could coexist, Python and the cat. I guess they can. I guess they both eat mice.
Mark, over here, there have been comparisons to this team, your team, with the Ohio State, the 0-2 championship team that won close, tight games. Do you think it's almost as simple as when you win close, tight games, then you're capable of winning more close games because of that experience? One begets another?
I think there's something to be said for when the game's on the line, you got to make a play. And if you've made plays before when it's on the line, then you get added confidence that you can do it, that you've seen it happen and it can be done. So I think there's added to that. Now, would I rather win them by 21 and just smile on the sideline, walk up and down? Yeah, I'd rather do that. But the nature of this game is that, as I said earlier, there's a lot of parity in college football, and it makes games tight, and anybody can rise up and play with anybody else. We've seen that across the board, across this country. So the nature of it is that you've got to play well down the stretch. We've been able to do that. We've won a lot of close games here, but we've also had to make them close too, one way or the other. So you got to play throughout, I think, every single play.
Last question here with Hondo. Mark, when you review Alabama's games, and I've watched all of them this year, they've, of course, the loss to Ole Miss, but they've been held tight a few times. Every team that has done two things. They've made them have to go to Coker's arm, and that team has also been able to throw downfield so they can't stack the box. How important is it to make them have to use Coker to throw, and how important is it for you to be able to throw down the field?
Well, from a defensive standpoint, I know that you got to pressure the quarterback. You got to stop the run. Got to play well on third down. You got to win situations, tackle in space, and all those different things. Big challenge, I think, is creating those third down situations. Obviously, if it's 3rd and 10, it's better than being 3rd and 2. So you got to create those situations on the early downs. But Coker does a nice job. He's a good football player. They've got guys surrounding Derrick Henry, tight ends, very good offensive line. They got players. So, again, it's going to be a challenge at every avenue, special teams, everything, great punter. At every avenue, they've got a great football team, so we're going to have to be prepared on every respect, really. To just conclude, really, I think it's we're looking forward to the Cotton Bowl. I think the Cotton Bowl is an outstanding experience. Had the opportunity last year and played it on January the 1st. I think it's a little bit ironic that we have an opportunity to go full circle, and now 365 days later we play on December 31st at the Cotton Bowl. So with that said, we'll look to complete our circles, and we'll move from there. Okay?
Thanks, Coach. You just submitted to convert over for the next
Keep smiling. Yeah. Thanks, guys.